Welcome to the Museum of Art. My name is Paul Adams and I teach photography here at Brigham Young University. And today I'm in an exhibition titled Far Out, the West Re-Seen Photography of Victoria Sambernaris. Now, the reason why I chose to talk about this photograph is that I was actually with Vicki when we discovered this location. I first met Vicki in 2016, and that was right about the time that this photograph was taken. She and I decided I invited her to go out with me and kind of scout about the Great Salt Lake. I was familiar with her photography. I felt like I had an idea of what type of photographs she was looking for, and I just thought the Great Salt Lake would be rich for the project that she was working on. So I invited her to travel out with me. I was actually in my Jeep, and she was in the car that she travels with, that she camps out of. And we drove out to the end of Promontory Point, which sticks out into the north end of the Great Salt Lake. And I took her out onto the causeway that you see the trains on right now. And this causeway continues past Promontory Point and goes out towards Lucerne. And it is a very thin road that the railroad line goes down, and then there's a very thin road next to the railroad line. And so we were driving down that road, and it was getting to be about sunset. And we got out of our vehicles and we're just looking around and kind of feeling the atmosphere and the salt in the air. And that evening, or that time every evening, trains come down the causeway from the west going east. And so we could see the train, we could see the headlights coming, and we just sat there and waited for it. And that train came rushing past us, and we were, literally just a couple feet away from it. And there's just the energy of that train just pew, 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 going back. And it just really lit us all up. And you get the creative juices going and your heart's pumping. And so we took some photos, and then we came around the point, and she stopped here and pulled out her car, and she said, I think I'm going to camp here for the night and see if I can photograph that same train the next day. So we left her, and she started to set up her camp. And something that impressed me about Vicki is that she's part of a very small community of female photographers that actually photograph the landscape. If you look back through history photographically, and then even contemporary photographers, there's really very few women that photograph the landscape, and particularly like she does. It's a very physical process. And the camping and kind of the equipment that you're using, there's a very small community of women that do that. And I asked her about that. I said, who are your contemporaries? Who are the people that are doing the same things that you're doing? And she said the same thing. She said, it's not like there's this group of us women that get together at Denny's once a year to talk about her work. She's really, I think, a maverick in that regard. So she ended up camping out here for the night, and me and the student that I was with, we left. And she told me the next day that she set up her camera fully expecting a train to come by, and it actually took all day, where she just had to sit there all day. And she told me later that she was about ready to give up and was taking down her equipment after spending the night and sitting there, and she could hear the train coming from the east. And so she was like, whoa, and hurried and set her camera back up and was able to get this shot. I want to take you to another photograph and speak a little bit about the equipment that she uses. All right. So just to give you a little bit of reference about this photograph, the first photograph that we just talked about is off here in the distance, the location here. This is on the east side now of the Great Salt Lake, and this is the causeway that I was describing earlier that we were on, that the train went across. What I wanted to show you now, though, is a little bit of the equipment that Victoria uses. This is a view camera, and it's a Chamonix 4x5 view camera. She actually uses a 5x7 view camera, so it's actually a little bit bigger than this. But I just wanted to give you a sense of the physicality of taking a photograph with this type of equipment. So she's got to haul this camera around. She's got to haul a tripod around. Several different lenses that all are heavy and large. The film comes in these film holders. You have 2 sheets of film per film holder, so you have 1 sheet of film on one side and another sheet of film on the other side. All of this equipment has to be hauled around. If you notice, this photograph was taken at the top of a mountain, and she describes about how the wind was blowing when she got up to the top of that mountain. And if you look at this camera is basically a sail at this point. When the wind is really strong, these cameras just pick up that wind and they can go flying. So as she described about how she took this photograph, I could relate to the physicality of what it would take to haul all that gear up to the top of that mountain, the wind blowing really hard, and the camera has to be perfectly still in order to get this type of sharp, crisp photograph. So that's a lot of work. It's just a lot of work, and it's exhausting, and it kind of puts in perspective, I think, the physicality of making these photographs when so many of us are just used to using our phone. We take our phone out, we take a picture, and we're done. It's a lot of work. It's exhausting, and it's a lot of equipment that has to be moved around. So I'm excited about this exhibition. I would recommend that you come out and take a look at it. The exhibition runs until May 1st of 2021. Please come and see these photographs in person. It's not the same when you look at these images online. You really need to stand in front of them and get nose to nose to them, and I invite you to come out and see this exhibition. Thank you.